source communities generally, and our community being no different, we really don't like that. We don't like those words. We don't like the concept. And we want to sort of generally avoid the taint of all of these things. And I think that that's naive. And I think we are at a size and a scale that we have got to start addressing these things. And you know, it's great if you disagree with that, but I feel like maybe the project's too big for you then. Because this is a reality. There's no community that can survive without those kinds of things. And so what you need to do is talk about it and acknowledge it rather than trying to pretend. Like, I remember when I first got to the Drupal community, it was like, okay, anybody can be involved. It's, you know, it's just just get there, you just do stuff. And like magically, it's okay. And it's like, it was not okay. How many people here just thought like coming into the Drupal community and figuring things out and understanding how everything worked and feeling really successful was like falling off a log? How many people actually were like, what the fuck? So I was. It was horrifying, right? Like, so, and the thing is like, as the community gets bigger and bigger and bigger, like that doesn't change, that doesn't go away. We've got to talk and acknowledge and deal with these things so that when new people are coming in, like when you're coming into a community of 50 people and you're new, you can talk to those 50 people, you can figure out what's what within an hour or two and have a good sense of the structure and what's going on. You know who the leader is. You know who the annoying one is, right? You sort those things out relatively quickly in a small group like that. But when you are talking about hundreds of thousands of people, like navigating that all of a sudden goes, whoa, and getting anything done in terms of work, but also things like resolution, like community things done, not building software, but getting community things done and resolving conflicts and sorting those things out. There have to sort of be avenues for that stuff to sort of happen, and they all happen naturally. We just don't talk about it. There's all these unspoken rules and laws about how things work, and you have to just sort of stumble around in the dark, like tripping over things for like your first year as you sort that out and you bump into something and you're like, oh, I had no idea that this was a rule. I had no idea that this person is more important than that person and that I shouldn't have done that. Like, all these things. Question?
I wonder if you have any thoughts on codifying people's, as far as the identity section goes, like codifying, like certifying the process people's contributions to the community, whether that generally has, I think it's worthwhile to have this kind of like figure out what the rules are and go along. And I wonder if codification as the community gets bigger, we have the scale issue. It's necessary, but then if we start don't listen to new voices, that becomes kind of stagnant.
Yeah, totally. I honestly don't have answers for this at all because it goes both ways. I'm personally like really like when people want to codify stuff too much. I'm not the biggest fan of lots of hard and fast rules in a community like this myself, but they're also really useful. And I honestly, I don't know what the answer is. Like, I just think these are interesting issues and problems, but what I want is for us to talk about this stuff, because that's a good question, right? Like, what does that mean? What is the impact that it's having? Should we do more of that? Should we be doing less of that? Should we do that in certain circumstances for, like, you know, newbie stuff, but then, like, once you're past newbie level, like, all of the rules dissolve or something? Like, you know, there's all this, like, different ways of looking at it. But I think part of it is, again, acknowledging it and talking about it and really looking at what we already have in place, because there are structures and there are authorities and there are rules in our community that are not written down, but a lot of people know them. And I think we just need to talk about that and really sort that out and see how much of it is worth codifying. Is it okay? Like, do enough people in the community know the basic rules that everybody assumes we're going by? Or is that just because these 200 people know those rules, and so they feel like they got it. I got it. I understand what's going on. But then, like, the rest of, like, 200,000 people don't know those rules. I don't know. Those are my questions to the community, and I think DrupalCon's a great time to talk about them. So that's where I'm going to leave things. We don't have really much time left. There's, like, I think a couple minutes. But if you do have questions or thoughts, we can talk about it. We have all of DrupalCon. I'm very excited I got to do this at the beginning of DrupalCon because we have the whole rest of the week to talk about these things. I am @OneSun on the intertubes, so Twitter, Drupal.org, generally around the web. So if you want to try and find me, you can do it that way. I'll be around all week, so if you see me and you want to just chat about stuff, totally let me know and we can talk. And then I'll put up my obligatory ending slide for you to take a survey, apparently, about the session. So that's what I got. Thanks a lot, and hopefully we'll have more conversation afterwards. Does anybody have a burning question that they must have answered publicly?
I just have a question. I'd just like to say, I'm just reviewing my schedule. And there's a couple of interesting discussions that we'll have during the there's can you use the microphone?
Oh, check the mic, check.
Not working.
Hello?
Oh, there you go.
Hey. So there's WebChick's Scaling the Community presentation that I would have to locate when exactly it is, but well, look for it, where actually the idea of conflict will also be discussed, at least that I looked at.
Yeah, and I'm sure that Angie and I would have some interesting, not fully 100% agreement about various things as well.
And I myself and Ivo Radlovsky, I can't never say his name correctly, we'll have on Thursday at between 3:45 and the closing keynote, also a discussion on insights and best practices in local communities. And I'll actually talk about the case of the Portuguese community where conflict has happened. And it's such a small country, you can't afford to have conflicts. It killed the community at one point.
Yeah.
We had to rebuild it from scratch. And actually, I'd like this thing about conflict, and that's what brought me here, because it annoys me that we don't have a definite solution to this thing. Meritocracy is okay, but I mean, it's okay for the whole community. Everybody agrees trees must be there. Sort of like nobody ever questioned that Linus Torvalds should be the head of Linux, I think.
I don't know about that.
He's kind of the role model. I mean, the Linux open source project is such a big project that basically every other project kind of follows in their wake. So, I mean, but at local level, you can't apply that. There's no, I mean, maybe if there is in the Antwerp community, if you were still living in Antwerp, maybe nobody would question that you should be the leader of the Antwerp community, but he's not living there anymore. So that kind of stuff happened. I mean, there's so many conflict of interests that some of us are certified to rock level 9, and we think that we are worth something. Other of us are CEOs of big companies, and we think that we should be the ones leading the community because, hey, we're the ones with all the money. And others are like just people that don't do anything, either in Drupal itself or in business, but they're actually the ones that are taking the community with them. And those guys think, okay, we should be the ones that are, we should be the leaders. How do you solve that problem? It's just such an unknown.
I don't know, but if you figure out, you should totally talk to the world powers, because we could use a lot more of this conflict resolution generally. But no, I mean, it's not. But again, I think, and again, sort of looking, I mean, I don't have answers for this, but in terms of I don't want to say research is what I'm hanging on, because, you know, whatever, there's